In an economy of distraction, we sabotage our success by busying ourselves with activities that don't add a single iota of value to our lives. And while we busy ourselves with the trivial, we ignore the important. In his classic study of CEO behavior, Uppsala University professor Sune Carlson studied the working practices of Sweden's leading industrialists. And as his team hovered over some of Europe's top business leaders with stopwatches and clipboards, they discovered that not a single CEO was able to work for more than 20 minutes without being interrupted. Can you relate to that? Between attending meetings you didn't need to attend, reading emails that you should never have been sent, and helping colleagues who just want a minute of your time, most of your day gets taken up by the agendas of other people. And by the time you throw Candy Crush, texting and Facebook into the mix, we're sometimes lucky to cram 2 hours of real effective work into an 8-hour day. For example, we know that the average office worker in North America checks her or his emails 32 times a day. 32 times! What exactly are you waiting for in your inbox? Can you imagine your grandparents going to check their mail 32 times a day? That would be weird. But just consider the math of this weirdness. Allowing a minute of distraction for checking your inbox and another minute for getting your focus back on track after you've checked your inbox, that's 64 minutes a day checking your inbox. That's over 21 hours a month, and you still haven't replied to any of these emails. And while we're busy doing all of these low-value, time-sucking tasks, we are ignoring the most important task of all: thinking. So here's a question. If you were to spend an hour of your day just thinking about your business, would you be worse off or better off? If you spent an hour a day with no interruptions just thinking about what you're doing, how you're doing it, and why you're doing it, what solutions would you find? What ideas would you come up with? Here's a scary thought. What profitable ideas are you not having because you're just too busy to think? In 1995, Adrian Begun, a professor of thermodynamics from Duke University, had an insight that would change the way we understand the world. During a lecture given by the Nobel laureate Ilya Prigogine, the famous academic made a statement that at that time the entire scientific community agreed with. He said, "While many tree-like structures exist in nature, from lightning bolts to the air ducts in lungs, to river deltas, to trees, although these and many other tree-like structures do resemble one another by design, they do so purely by chance. In other words, everywhere you look in the universe, from the macro to the micro, you notice these tree-like shapes and structures, and there are commonalities between them, but they are all a coincidence." As soon as Begun heard this statement, he intuitively knew it was wrong. He left the lecture hall and penned what physicists today call the constructal law. The constructal law states that for a finite flow to exist in time, its configuration must evolve in such a way that provides easy access to the currents that flow through it, which is just a fancy way of saying that there is a design in nature that gives an evolutionary advantage, an edge, an extra 10% to structures that allow for flow. Let me say that again. There is a design in nature that gives an evolutionary advantage, an edge, an extra 10% to structures that allow for flow. And the structures that best facilitate flow are tree-like. Now here's the thing. We know that the human brain has 100 to 200 billion cells, and each of these cells is a tree-like structure. Your brain is designed, or has evolved, whichever you prefer, to allow for the flow of ideas, solutions, answers that will give you an advantage, an edge, an extra 10% over the tribe in the next valley or the factory in the next town. But the more you clog up your brain with distractions, the slower these ideas will come and the fewer solutions you'll find. Think of it like traffic. We know that traffic works best when there's space between the cars, and the greater the space, the faster the flow. We also know that when there's no space between cars, we get gridlock. And between attending to irrelevant email chains, trivial text messages from friends, catching up on social media and puppies on Snapchat, it's always rush hour in our brains, and consequently, we rarely have ideas. So have you noticed that when you're in the shower, your thoughts flow seamlessly from one to another? From what you forgot at the grocery store, to what you're cooking for dinner, to what you're doing today, and every now and again you have a great idea. That happens because your brain has space, and when it has space, it just works. And have you also noticed that the opposite happens while you're playing Candy Crush? This is why time management experts advise us to embrace the perks of being unavailable. Do you know what your inbox is? It's other people's agenda for your day. Do you know what your newsfeed is? It's a tool designed to stop you achieving your dreams so that other companies can achieve theirs. Sean Parker, the founding president of Facebook, recently admitted that Facebook is designed to consume as much of your time and conscious attention as possible. Then he actually admitted that to do this, every now and again, we need to give you a hit of dopamine. Our drug dealer of choice is making millions by deliberately distracting us from making ours. And by the way, 2 groups in America today call their customers users. One of them is tech companies, the other, drug dealers. That says it all, doesn't it? But the good news is that in a distracted economy, the rewards for those who can concentrate and focus are enormous. So start here. Set aside chunks of your day when there are no notifications, no newsfeed, no downloading of useless information, and just think. Your brain is your greatest asset, but it needs space to work. The chances are that right now your competition are operating in a state of what Microsoft executive Linda Stone called partial attention, caused by the distractions of our culture, and you will beat them by thinking more than they do.